Peter King, formerly with NBC Sports and the Monday Morning Quarterback, and, well, retirement. And now look at him, a contributor to the Dan Patrick Show here. Not scheduled, but great seeing you, Pete. What riled you up?
Dan, I was just walking the dog. I was just walking Chuck here in Brooklyn, and I was listening to your show with all of the falderall around Shedeur Sanders. And I don't know. I just wanted to address a few things. And I said to Todd, said I'm happy to talk to Dan off the air, but I mean, there's just a few things. Like, for instance, wearing the hat backwards. The coach of the year in the NFL this year was Dan Quinn. He wears his hat backwards. I think it looks a little bit 21-ish, but that's the way Dan Quinn likes to wear his hat. Who cares? That's one. Number two, Deion Sanders, I remember this specifically in 1989 when he was in the draft. And he came out like gangbusters. Prime time, cover of SI, being very, very counter NFL culture. And over the years, one of the things that I grew to respect incredibly about Deion Sanders is that he knew that a cornerback in the NFL was not going to make Troy Aikman, Barry Sanders money unless he wasn't just your average, everyday, great player in the draft. And so he made himself into something that he knew would make him more money. And he was smart. And look, I have no idea. I didn't go to the combine. I don't cover the NFL right now. So I don't know anything. Okay. I just know this, that the Shedeur Sanders who met with teams at the combine, he probably can basically play the game the way he and his dad think is best for him. Like, let's just say that Deion and Shedeur believe that, oh, don't go to Cleveland, man. It is a graveyard. And so when you go into Cleveland, when you go into your meeting with Cleveland, you don't have to say, oh, man, I'd love to go to Cleveland. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to help you change your culture, all that. Suppose he's just a little bit passive or you seem like he seems like he doesn't care. And again, look, I come from the stance that I know nothing other than what I've read a little bit on social media. And I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this. And Dan, I think the one last thing I would say is that, you talk about guys who are arrogant maybe, and you talk about, like a Marino or Brady, you can be any way you want when you win.
Yeah.
Any way you want. And there's something about the fire from Dan Marino. The day I covered in 91 or 92, no, maybe 95, I forget when it was. Dan Marino broke Fran Tarkenton's all-time record for passing yards in his career, and they lost the game. Harvey Green, the PR guy, goes up to Dan Marino after the game and says, here, hands him a stat sheet from the game, figuring that he said, I figure you might want to have this keepsake. And Marino looks at it, he goes, and he wasn't being a jerk to Harvey Green. He just said, we just lost the effing football game. I don't give two blanks about stats and about records, and so those things are okay. But all I'm saying is that, and is that the narrative, I think the player has a chance to control before the draft. And has anybody thought that maybe Shedeur Sanders is just trying to control his own narrative?